He's too ancient to perform. He can't possibly satisfy me. You have absolutely no idea what I'm capable of. Naima didn't cry when they hauled her into the registry office. She cried when her new husband leaned close and murmured the one phrase that demolished her reality. She sensed something was off the instant her father prostrated before that 68-year-old man like he was royalty. But it wasn't until her wedding night, confined in a luxury hotel suite in Seoul, that the truth unraveled. He wasn't feeble. He wasn't benign. And when he approached her and delivered a cold, deliberate kiss to her temple, not from tenderness but ownership, she finally grasped she hadn't been selected. She had been acquired for something far more frightening than matrimony. Welcome to Afro-K Dark Diaries TV, family. Here's a shout to Naima. You requested I use your name, and I have. Say hi in the comments if you're watching. To my returning family, if you pause in the middle of this tale, you'll have nightmares wondering how it concluded. Drop a comment right now if you're already thrilled about the suspense this story is about to deliver. The wedding gown felt like shackles. Naima stood in the private suite of Seoul's most exclusive hotel, her dark fingers quivering against the delicate ivory silk. 19 years old and wed to a 68-year-old man she'd encountered only once. A man whose reputation in Korea's underground enterprise circles had made her father grovel during their visit to Seoul 4 months ago. A man whose steel-gray eyes had examined her like a prized purchase during their brief introduction at a business conference in this very city. The mirror reflected a foreigner. Her coiled hair was decorated with tiny pearls. Her cosmetics flawless, but dread lived in her brown eyes. Her family had traded her to resolve debts her father owed to dangerous people here in Korea. Park Jin-ho had offered a resolution during that fateful trip. Matrimony in exchange for her father's liberation and her family's security back in Nigeria. She'd inscribed documents she barely comprehended in both English and Korean. The door opened. Jin-ho entered, and Naima's breath seized despite her terror. At 68, he moved like a man decades younger. His broad shoulders filled his tailored charcoal suit flawlessly, and his salt and pepper hair was combed back from a face that radiated authority rather than age. His muscular build spoke of discipline and dominance. He was striking in a way that made her uncomfortable because she shouldn't notice. She shouldn't feel that flutter in her stomach when those piercing eyes locked onto hers. "You're shaking," he said in perfect English, his deep voice carrying a subtle Korean accent. Naima lifted her chin, compelling herself to meet his gaze. "I'm fine, liar." He crossed the room in 3 strides, moving with the grace of a hunter. He stopped inches from her, close enough that she could smell his costly cologne, close enough to see the silver stubble on his sharp jaw. "Are you frightened of me?" Her heart pounded. Should I be? Something flickered in his eyes, amusement perhaps, or approval. "That depends on whether you plan to betray me. I don't even know you. You know sufficient." His finger traced her jaw, the touch surprisingly gentle. "You know I command an empire that spans 3 nations. You know men fear my name. You know your father gambled away money he borrowed from my rivals while conducting business in Seoul and nearly got your entire family eliminated back in Lagos." Naima jerked away from his touch, fury flaring. "You didn't have to purchase me like livestock." "No," Jin-ho's expression hardened. "I could have let Kim Do-yeon's men travel to Nigeria and incinerate your family's home with everyone inside. Would you have preferred that?" The name sent ice through her veins. Kim Do-yeon was known even in Nigeria through whispered stories of Korean businessmen who crossed the wrong people. Ruthless, violent. Her father's terrified face when those men had appeared at their hotel in Seoul 4 months ago still haunted her nightmares. They'd given him 2 weeks to produce $400,000, money he didn't have. Money he'd lost in an illegal investment scheme with Korean investors that had gone catastrophically wrong. Welcome back, family. Subscribe to my channel if you're enjoying this story. Jin-ho had materialized the next day like a dark savior at their hotel. He'd paid the debt, all of it. In exchange, he demanded Naima as his bride. Her father had agreed before she could even process what was transpiring. Within 7 weeks, she was on a plane from Lagos to Seoul with a new passport and a wedding date, leaving her mother and brothers behind in tears. Now she stood in this hotel room, married to a stranger in a foreign country, expected to share his bed. "I can't do this," she whispered in English, the only language that felt safe right now. Can't do what? Jinho's voice remained calm, but something dangerous lurked beneath the surface. Any of this, I'm 19. She gestured helplessly at him. You're 68 years old. This is wrong. I should be back home in Lagos finishing university, not here in Seoul married to you. Wrong. He stepped closer again, backing her against the window. Seoul's glittering skyline spread out behind her, so different from the Lagos streets she knew. Your father made a choice when he came to Korea seeking fortune. You're alive because of the choice I made. Nothing about survival is wrong, Naima. His use of her name, spoken in that deep voice with that slight accent, did strange things to her pulse. She hated it, hated how her body responded to his proximity even as her mind screamed at her to run. There was nowhere to run. Her passport was in his possession. Her family's safety back in Nigeria depended on her cooperation. She was trapped in a gilded cage in a foreign country with a man old enough to be her grandfather. I heard what people say, she said quietly, about men your age, that you won't be able to. Jinho's laugh was low and genuinely amused. You think I'm impotent? Heat flooded her face. I didn't say that. You implied it. His hand cupped her chin, forcing her to look at him. Let me be clear, little bride. Age has taken nothing from me that matters. I could prove it to you right now, but I won't, not when you look at me like I'm a monster. Then what do you want from me? Naima demanded, her Nigerian accent thick with emotion. Loyalty, obedience, and eventually an heir. The clinical way he said it made her feel sick. I'm not a breeding animal. No, you're my wife. There's a difference. He released her and walked to the bar, pouring himself whiskey. You'll learn it in time. Naima watched him, this powerful stranger who now controlled every aspect of her life in this unfamiliar country. And if I refuse? Jinho turned, the crystal glass in his hand catching the light. Then your father dies. Your mother dies. Your 2 younger brothers die. Kim Doyeon doesn't forgive debts, and his reach extends to Nigeria. Without my protection, your family becomes targets. Is that what you want? The casual cruelty of the threat stole her breath. He wasn't bluffing. She could see it in his eyes, in the set of his shoulders. This was a man who had killed before, a man who would kill again without hesitation if crossed. You're a monster, she whispered. Yes, he drained the whiskey. But I'm your monster now. Get used to it. He left her standing there, walking into the adjoining bedroom without looking back. Naima remained frozen by the window, her reflection ghostly in the glass. Below, Seoul pulsed with life, neon signs and Korean characters she couldn't read. People going about their normal lives while hers had just ended. She was so far from home, so far from everything familiar, married to a 68-year-old Korean crime lord, expected to bear his children, expected to smile and obey and pretend this was normal. The door to the bedroom remained open, an invitation or a command. Naima took a shaky breath and followed. The bedroom was enormous, decorated in blacks and grays with touches of gold. The bed dominated the space, massive and intimidating. Jinho stood by the window, his back to her, his jacket discarded over a chair. Even without it, his muscular frame was evident through his white dress shirt. I won't force you, he said without turning, his Korean accented English careful and precise. Not tonight. Relief and confusion warred in her chest. Why not? Because I want you willing. Now he turned, and the intensity in his gaze made her knees weak. I want you to come to me because you choose to, not because you're afraid. That will never happen. We'll see. He smiled, and it transformed his face from intimidating to devastating. You have fire, Naima. I chose you for that reason. A weak woman would bore me within a week. You chose me because my father owed money. I chose you because when Kim Doyeon's men held a blade to your throat in that Seoul hotel corridor, you spit in their faces and cursed them in Yoruba. Jinho crossed to her, moving with that unsettling grace. You have courage, spirit. That's rare, that's valuable. Naima remembered that day with perfect clarity. The men had come to make an example. They'd grabbed her in the hotel hallway, dragged her into a service area. The knife had been cold against her skin. They'd wanted her to beg, to cry. Instead, she'd cursed them in 3 languages, English, Yoruba, and the little Igbo she knew, and fought until they'd knocked her unconscious. She'd woken in a Seoul hospital with her father weeping at her bedside, speaking broken Korean to the nurses. 2 days later, Park Jinho had appeared with his offer. You were there, she realized. You saw it happen. I saw everything. His finger traced the faint scar on her neck where the blade had broken skin. You could have died on foreign soil, far from your home. Instead, you showed them you weren't prey. That's when I decided you were worth saving. Worth buying, you mean. Semantics. He dropped his hand. The bed is yours tonight. I'll take the couch, you don't have to do that. Yes, I do. Something shifted in his expression, something almost vulnerable. You're terrified and far from home. Forcing myself on a terrified girl in a foreign country, even my legal wife, isn't something I'm willing to do. I have standards, Naima. The unexpected consideration threw her. What kind of crime boss has standards about forcing his wife? The kind who understands that fear and respect are different things. Jinho moved to the closet, pulling out a blanket. I need your respect more than I need your fear. Fear makes people unpredictable. Respect makes them loyal. I'll never be loyal to you. You will. He settled on the leather couch by the window, his long frame somehow fitting comfortably. Because you'll realize that I'm the only thing standing between your family back in Nigeria and a very painful death. Because you'll see that I treat my people well. Because despite the age difference and the circumstances, I'll give you a life your father's gambling could never have provided, here in Korea or anywhere else. Naima stood in the middle of the room, feeling lost in this foreign land. I don't understand you. You will. He closed his eyes. Go to bed, little bride. Tomorrow, your real education begins. Welcome to Korea. She didn't move for a long moment, studying him in the dim light. His face relaxed in repose, the hard edges softening slightly. He was handsome, devastatingly so, and that made everything more confusing. She'd expected a decrepit old man. Instead, she'd gotten someone who looked like he could snap her in half, but chose gentleness instead. Someone who commanded empires but slept on a couch to give her space. It would be easier if he were a monster. Naima climbed into the massive bed, still wearing her wedding dress. Sleep seemed impossible, but exhaustion from the emotional turmoil and jet lag from her journey from Nigeria eventually claimed her. She dreamed of chains and cages and steel gray eyes that saw too much, all set against unfamiliar Seoul streets. Morning light woke her. Naima blinked, disoriented, until memory crashed back. Married Korea Jinho. She sat up quickly, but the couch was empty. A note lay on the pillow beside her in precise English handwriting. Breakfast is waiting in the dining room. Your clothes are in the closet. Don't try to leave the penthouse. The guards have orders. You're safe here in Seoul. Of course, there were guards. She was a prisoner, not a wife, trapped in a country where she couldn't even read the street signs. Naima found the closet stocked with expensive clothes in her size, everything from casual wear to formal gowns. Someone had measured her precisely. She chose jeans and a simple blouse, refusing to wear the designer dresses. Small rebellions were all she had in this foreign place. The penthouse was massive. Floor to ceiling, windows offered views of Seoul's sprawling cityscape, so different from Lagos's landscape. Modern furniture mixed with traditional Korean pieces, strange and beautiful. Everything screamed wealth and power. She found the dining room easily. A spread of food waited, both Korean dishes she didn't recognize and Western options that looked familiar. Her stomach growled despite her anxiety. Jinho entered as she was examining the Korean dishes with uncertainty. He wore casual clothes now, black pants and a fitted gray sweater that showed off his muscular build. His hair was slightly damp from a shower. He looked younger somehow, more approachable. It was an illusion. You slept well? He asked in English. No. Naima stayed on the far side of the table. Where are my things? My phone, my passport. I need to call my mother in Lagos. Your phone is being configured with secure lines that work internationally. Your passport is in my safe. You'll get neither until I'm certain you understand the situation. But you may call your mother this afternoon on a secure line. The situation being that I'm your prisoner in Korea. The situation being that you're a target. Jinho poured coffee with steady hands. Kim Doyeon knows I married you. He knows it was a direct challenge to his authority over your father's debt. He'll try to hurt me through you, whether you're in Korea or Nigeria. Until my people eliminate that threat, you don't leave this building without a security detail. The casual mention of elimination made her stomach turn. You're going to kill him. He tried to kill you first, here on Korean soil. This is just business. Jinho studied her over his coffee cup. Eat. The kimchi is mild if you want to try Korean food, or stick with the toast if you prefer. Why do I need strength? Training. Naima frowned. Training for what? Survival. He set down his cup. You're married to one of the most dangerous men in Asia. That makes you a target for my enemies and a symbol for my allies. You need to know how to defend yourself, how to move in my world, how to navigate Korean society as my wife, how to be my wife in every sense that matters. I didn't agree to any of this. Your father agreed for you. The contracts are signed. The marriage is legal in both Korea and Nigeria. You can fight reality or you can adapt to it. Your choice. Naima wanted to throw something at his calm, handsome face. Instead, she sat down and grabbed a piece of toast, avoiding the unfamiliar Korean dishes. Fine, train me. Turn me into whatever you need, but don't expect me to like it or to forget I'm Nigerian, not Korean. I expect you to survive it. Park Jin-ho sat across from her. That's enough for now, and I don't want you to forget where you're from. Your strength comes from your roots. They ate in tense silence. Naima couldn't help stealing glances at him. The way he moved was precise, controlled, military training perhaps. His hands were strong, scarred hands that had hurt people, hands that had been gentle on her face last night. The contradiction confused her. Why me? She asked suddenly in English, her Nigerian accent strong. You could have any woman in Korea. Why buy a 19-year-old from Nigeria who doesn't even speak Korean? Jin-ho considered the question, answering in careful English. Because every woman who would willingly marry me would do so for money or power. They'd lie, they'd scheme, they'd be loyal only as long as it benefited them. You, Naima, have no illusions about this marriage. You hate me. You're honest about it. That honesty is worth more than false affection. That's twisted. That's reality. He stood. Finish eating. Your trainer arrives in an hour. The trainer was a woman. Soyeon was 32, compact and lethal looking. She wore athletic clothes and studied Naima with sharp black eyes that missed nothing. They met in the penthouse's private gym, a space filled with equipment that looked more like torture devices than exercise machines. Soyeon spoke English with a heavy Korean accent. I hear you fought off 3 of Kim Do-yeon's men in Seoul. I got beaten unconscious, Naima corrected, her Nigerian accent contrasting with Soyeon's Korean one. But you fought first. That's good. Shows spirit. Soyeon circled her like a shark. Your husband wants you trained in self-defense, weapons handling, and situational awareness. We have 3 months to make you dangerous. Also, I teach you some Korean. You need to understand what people say around you. 3 months? Why 3 months? Because in 3 months, you'll attend your first public event as Park Jin-ho's wife. Every enemy he's made in 50 years will be watching for weakness. Korean society will judge you. They'll see your skin color, your age, your foreign background. We can't have them thinking you're easy prey. The training was brutal. Soyeon drilled her in basic strikes, blocks, and escapes, all while teaching her Korean phrases. Naima's muscles screamed, sweat poured down her face, but something fierce awakened inside her with each movement. This was power, real power. Not the power of beauty or manipulation, but the power to defend herself in this foreign land. Good, Soyeon said after 2 hours, switching to English. You learn fast. We'll make a fighter of you yet. Now say it in Korean. Naima repeated the phrase Soyeon taught her, stumbling over the unfamiliar sounds. Better, Soyeon said. Language is weapon too. You must learn. Naima collapsed on the mat, gasping. Why are you helping him? Jin-ho, I mean. He saved my life. Soyeon tossed her a water bottle. I was trafficked from North Korea at 17, sold to men who treated women like objects. Jin-ho's people raided the compound here in Seoul. He could have left me there, but he didn't. He got me medical care, South Korean citizenship, a job, a life. I owe him everything. He's a criminal. He's a man who lives by his own code. Soyeon's expression hardened. In this world, there are predators and prey. Your husband is a predator who protects his own. That's more than most can say, in Korea or anywhere. The words haunted Naima as she showered and changed. Was Jin-ho really protecting her, or was this just another form of control? The lines blurred more each hour in this strange country. Lunch was waiting when she emerged. Park Jin-ho sat at the table working on a laptop, Korean characters scrolling across the screen. He looked up as she approached, and something flickered in his eyes, approval perhaps. Soyeon says you did well. Says you're learning Korean words too. I'm sore everywhere and Korean is hard. It gets easier. He closed the laptop. Sit. We need to discuss something. Naima sat wearily. What now? I have business tonight, a meeting with associates from Japan. You'll accompany me? Her heart jumped. You just said I couldn't leave the penthouse. I said you couldn't leave without security. Tonight you'll be with me. That's the best security available. Jinho's expression was serious. But you need to understand something, Naima. These men are dangerous. They'll test you, insult you, try to find weakness. They may make comments about your race, your age, your background. You must show them nothing. How am I supposed to do that when I don't even speak Korean or Japanese? By remembering that you are my wife. That means you're untouchable. Anyone who disrespects you disrespects me, and no one disrespects me in lives. His voice dropped to something deadly. Stay close, don't speak unless spoken to, and if anyone touches you, break their hand like Soyeon taught you. The casual violence in his tone should have terrified her. Instead, something warm unfurled in her chest. Protection. He was offering protection, even if it came wrapped in threats and danger to a girl from Nigeria in the heart of Seoul. What if I mess up? She asked quietly. You won't. Jinho reached across the table, his large hand covering hers. You have more courage than you know, little bride. Trust it. You survived coming to a foreign country. You'll survive this. The touch sent electricity through her. Naima pulled away, confused by her own reaction. I should get ready. The dress is in your room. Hair and makeup will be here at 6. Of course, he'd already arranged everything. The dress was stunning, deep sapphire silk that hugged her curves and fell to her ankles. Elegant, expensive. She stared at her reflection when the stylists finished, Korean women who smiled and complimented her in broken English. The woman looking back was sophisticated, powerful, nothing like the terrified girl who'd arrived from Lagos yesterday. Jinho was waiting in the living room. He'd changed into a tailored black suit with a dark blue shirt that matched her dress. When he saw her, he went very still. His eyes tracked over her slowly, and heat followed in their wake. Beautiful, he said quietly in English. Naima's breath caught. It's just a dress. No, it's you. He crossed to her, offering his arm. Ready? No. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. His smile was predatory. Let's go remind the world who you belong to. Let's show them that a Nigerian woman can stand beside a Korean king. The ride to the restaurant took 30 minutes through Seoul's neon-lit streets. Naima watched the unfamiliar cityscape pass, Korean signs and billboards she couldn't read. She sat in the back of the luxury sedan, hyper-aware of Jinho beside her. His thigh pressed against hers. His scent filled her space. His presence was overwhelming. Tell me about Nigeria, he said suddenly in English. She blinked at the unexpected question. What do you want to know? Everything. Your life before me before Korea. Why do you care? Because you're my wife. I should know who you are. His eyes were intent. Tell me, so she did. She told him about growing up in Lagos, about the markets and the music and the warm rain, about her dreams of becoming a doctor, about her brothers who looked up to her, about her mother's kindness and her father's slow descent into gambling and debt that had brought him to Seoul seeking fortune. Words poured out and Jinho listened, really listened. It was disconcerting. You wanted to help people, he observed. I still do. Then help my people. Jinho's hand found hers. Many of the women in my organization come from bad situations, trafficking, abuse. They need medical care but don't trust hospitals. You could make a difference here in Korea. Naima stared at their joined hands, his pale skin against her dark fingers. You want me to be a nurse for criminals in Seoul? I want you to have purpose beyond being my wife. Purpose makes people happy. I want you happy, Naima, even far from home. Why? Because unhappy wives are unpredictable. His thumb stroked over her knuckles. And because the sound of your laughter with that beautiful Nigerian accent would be worth any price. The admission stole her words. This man, this dangerous, complicated Korean man, he kept surprising her, kept showing her glimpses of something beyond the cold crime lord. It was terrifying how much she wanted to see more. The restaurant was exclusive, private. Armed men stood at every entrance. Jinho helped her from the car, his hand firm on her lower back. The touch burned through the thin silk. Naima forced herself to breathe normally as they entered, aware of the stares from other Korean patrons. The private room held 6 men, Japanese, all middle-aged or older, all radiating danger. They stood as Jinho entered, bowing respectfully. Their eyes tracked to Naima with varying degrees of interest and calculation. She heard whispers in Japanese, caught the surprised tones. "Gentlemen," Jinho said in flawless Japanese, "this is my wife Naima." She understood none of it, but she caught the tone, pride, warning, possession. One man stepped forward, younger than the others, maybe 47. His eyes lingered on Naima in a way that made her skin crawl. He spoke in English with a thick Japanese accent. "So this is the African girl we've heard about from Nigeria." "Yes. Young enough to be your granddaughter, Park, different color too. Robbing cradles now and importing foreign goods." Jinho's hand tightened on her back. "Tanaka, still compensating for your inadequacies with that mouth." The room went ice cold. Tanaka's smile was vicious. "Just wondering if the girl knows what she's gotten into. Does she know about the shipments, the accounts, the bodies you've buried in Korean soil? Can she even speak Korean? Does your wife know about your mistress in Osaka?" Jinho's voice was pleasant, deadly. "Or the illegitimate daughter you refuse to acknowledge? Glass houses, my friend." Tanaka's face flushed. He took a step toward Naima, and Jinho moved between them faster than she could track. One moment he was beside her, the next he had Tanaka's wrist in a grip that made the other man wince. "You may look at my wife," Jinho said softly in English so Naima could understand. "You may admire her beauty, but if you take one more step in her direction, if you insult her background one more time, I will break every bone in your hand and feed them to you. Are we clear?" The other men had gone very still. Tanaka nodded stiffly. Jinho released him and guided Naima to a seat. "Now, shall we discuss business, or would anyone else like to test my patience tonight?" No one spoke. Dinner was tense. The men spoke in rapid Japanese, while Naima sat silent, trying to look calm. Jinho kept his hand on her thigh under the table. The possessive touch should have angered her. Instead, it grounded her, reminded her she wasn't alone in this room full of predators in a foreign country. Tanaka kept shooting her looks, hateful, calculating. When Jinho stepped away to take a phone call, the man leaned close. "He'll tire of you," Tanaka whispered in English. "Old men always do with young wives, especially foreign ones who don't belong. When he does, you'll need friends. I could be a very good friend, little African girl. Help you get back to Nigeria, maybe." Naima remembered Jinho's words, "break their hand." She also remembered Soyin's training. Before she could think, her hand shot out, gripping Tanaka's wrist and twisting hard using the technique she'd learned that morning. The man yelped, trying to pull away, but she held firm. "Touch me again," she said clearly in English, her Nigerian accent strong and proud. "And I'll make sure my husband knows exactly what you offered. Then we'll see who needs friends. I may be from Nigeria, but I'm Park Jinho's wife. Remember that." She released him as Jinho returned. The older man's eyes swept the scene, missing nothing. Tanaka was cradling his wrist. Naima sat calmly, her heart racing but her face serene. "Problem?" Jinho asked mildly in English. "No problem," Tanaka muttered. "Good." Jinho's hand found Naima's shoulder, squeezing gently. "Because any problem involving my wife becomes my problem, and I solve my problems permanently. It doesn't matter if she's from Nigeria or the moon, she's mine." The meeting ended shortly after. In the car, Naima finally let herself shake, adrenaline crash. Jinho pulled her against his side without a word, his arm around her shoulders as they drove through Seoul's lit streets. "You threatened Tanaka," he said. "He offered to be my friend when you got tired of me, said I didn't belong here because I'm African." Jinho's laugh was sharp. "And you chose violence. I'm impressed. I'm terrified. You should be. Tanaka isn't forgiving. He'll remember this insult." Jinho's finger tilted her face up. "But you handled it perfectly. You showed strength. That's exactly what I needed you to do. You represented yourself, me, and Nigeria with pride, so this was a test. Everything is a test in my world." His thumb brushed her lower lip. "You're passing beautifully." The touch sent heat through her. Naima pulled away, confused by her body's response. Don't what? Don't touch me like that. Don't look at me like," she couldn't finish. "Like I want you." Jinho's eyes darkened. "I'm 68, not dead. And you, little bride, are exquisite. Your dark skin, your courage, your spirit. Of course I want you. I'm 19, you're 68. I'm from Nigeria, you're Korean." "This is wrong, you keep saying that." Jinho moved closer. "But your body tells a different story. Your pulse jumps when I touch you. Your breathing changes. You're attracted to me, Naima. You just don't want to admit it. You're delusional." "Am I?" His hand cupped her face. Look me in the eye and tell me you feel nothing. Lie to me convincingly and I'll keep my distance. Can you do that? Naima opened her mouth, closed it. She wanted to lie, needed to lie. But his eyes held hers, steel gray and intense, and the words wouldn't come because he was right. She felt something terrifying and wrong and undeniable. Korean or Nigerian, old or young, it didn't matter to her treacherous heart. I hate you, she whispered instead. That's not a denial. Jinho's smile was triumphant. Progress. Back at the penthouse overlooking Seoul, Naima fled to the bedroom. Her emotions were a tangled mess. Fear, anger, confusion, homesickness for Lagos, and underneath it all, that growing warmth whenever Jinho looked at her. It was wrong. He was too old, Korean, not Nigerian. This marriage was forced. She shouldn't feel anything but revulsion. But she did. A knock on the door interrupted her spiral. Jinho entered without waiting for permission. He'd removed his jacket and tie. His shirt was unbuttoned at the collar. He looked younger, dangerous. We need to talk, he said. About what? Tanaka. He'll retaliate for tonight. I need you prepared. Jinho sat on the edge of the bed. He's petty and vindictive. He'll try to hurt me by hurting you. He may even try to use your background, your race, your foreignness against you. So what do? We make sure you're never an easy target. His expression was serious. Starting tomorrow, you'll have a personal bodyguard. Soyeon will accompany you everywhere in Seoul. You'll also learn to shoot. Shoot? Like guns? Yes, like guns. Jinho's hand found hers. I know this isn't the life you chose. I know you miss Nigeria, but it's the life you have now. I need you to embrace it, to become strong enough that my enemies think twice before coming after you. Naima studied their joined hands, pale and dark intertwined. What if I can't? You can, you already proved it tonight. Jinho's eyes were intense. You're my wife, Naima. That means something in this world. It means power, protection, respect. But it also means danger. I can shield you from most of it, but you need to be able to shield yourself too. Why do you care so much? You barely know me. I'm just some girl from Nigeria your business brought you. Because you're mine. The possessiveness in his tone made her shiver. I protect what's mine. Always, Korean, Nigerian, it doesn't matter. You're my wife. I'm not a possession. No, you're my wife. That's more important than any possession. He stood. Get some rest. Tomorrow, your real training begins. He left before she could respond. Naima lay in the massive bed, staring at the ceiling. Her life had become unrecognizable. A week ago, she was a university student in Lagos, worried about exams. Now she was in Seoul, married to a Korean crime lord, learning to fight and shoot, navigating a world of violence and power where she didn't speak the language or understand the culture. And the worst part? She was starting to understand it, to see the twisted logic of Jinho's world, to appreciate the protection he offered, to crave his approval in ways that scared her. She was changing, adapting, becoming someone new, caught between Nigeria and Korea. The question was whether she could live with who she was becoming. Morning brought Soyeon and a new routine. Combat training for 2 hours, Korean language lessons for 1 hour, then weapons handling at a private range. Jinho watched sometimes, his presence both distracting and motivating. Naima learned quickly. The gun felt heavy in her hands at first, but Soyeon was a patient teacher. Breathe, aim, squeeze. Soyeon's voice was calm, her Korean accent thick. Don't jerk the trigger. Smooth pressure. The shot rang out. Naima's bullet hit the target, center mass. Perfect, Jinho said from behind her in English. Naima spun, nearly dropping the gun. He stood in the doorway, arms crossed, watching her with those intense eyes. Don't sneak up on me when I'm armed. Good instinct, he approached slowly. But your stance is off. May I? She nodded, not trusting her voice. Jinho moved behind her, his body pressing against her back. His hands covered hers, adjusting her grip on the weapon. His breath was warm on her neck as he spoke in English so she'd understand every word. Feet shoulder-width apart. Lean forward slightly. Let the gun become an extension of your body, not separate from it. His voice was low, intimate. Feel the weight, the balance. Trust yourself. Naima could barely concentrate on his words. Every point of contact burned. His chest against her back, his hands over hers, his scent surrounding her. This was wrong. This Korean man, this Nigerian girl, this was so wrong. But her body didn't care about wrong or about cultural differences. It only cared about the heat building inside her. Now, Jinho murmured, breathe out and fire. She did. The bullet hit dead center. Beautiful. His lips brushed her ear. You're a natural. Naima jerked away, her heart racing. I need a break. She fled to the bathroom, splashing cold water on her face. This was getting out of control. Every touch, every look, every word from him made her feel things she shouldn't feel. She was supposed to hate him, fear him. Remember, she was Nigerian and he was Korean, and this was all wrong. Instead, she found herself looking for him when he wasn't around, listening for his voice, craving his approval. It was sick, twisted. Everything about this situation was wrong, but knowing that didn't make her body stop responding. When she emerged, Soyeon was alone. He left something about a shipment problem at the Busan port. What kind of shipment? The kind you don't ask about. Soyeon's expression was serious. Listen, Naima, I know this is hard. I know you didn't choose this life. I know you miss Nigeria, miss home. But if you're going to survive it, you need to stop fighting who you're becoming. What am I becoming? Strong, dangerous, someone who belongs in Jinho's world. Soyeon gripped her shoulder. That's not a bad thing. Weakness gets you killed here in Korea. Strength keeps you breathing. Your African blood makes you tough. Use that. The words echoed in Naima's mind for the rest of the day. Was Soyeon right? Should she stop fighting and embrace this new reality? The thought terrified her because embracing it meant accepting Jinho, accepting this marriage, accepting Korea as home, accepting feelings she didn't want to have for a man so different from her. That night, Jinho returned late. Naima heard him enter the penthouse, heard his voice speaking rapid Korean on the phone. She should have stayed in bed, should have pretended to sleep. Instead, she found herself padding to the living room. He stood by the window, still on the phone, his back tense. Something was wrong. When he ended the call and turned, his expression was dark. Problem? Naima asked in English. Tanaka made a move, tried to intercept one of my shipments at Incheon port. Jinho poured whiskey with controlled movements. He failed, but the fact that he tried means war is coming. War? Territory dispute. He's challenging my control of the Korean ports. He thinks having allies in Japan gives him leverage. Jinho drained the glass. He's wrong. Naima moved closer. What will you do? What I always do, eliminate the threat. He looked at her and something raw showed in his eyes. This is my world, Naima, violence, power, blood, Korea's underworld. Are you sure you want to be part of it? I could still send you back to Nigeria. Do I have a choice? You always have a choice. Jinho set down the glass. I could send you back to Lagos, give your family enough money to disappear. You'd be free, safe from all this. Her heart clenched. And what would happen to you? What do you care? She couldn't finish because she did care. Somehow in the past week in this foreign country, this dangerous Korean man had become important. She didn't love him, couldn't love him, but she didn't want him dead either. I care, she admitted quietly in her Nigerian accented English. Something shifted in Jinho's expression, hope maybe, or hunger. Why? I don't know. Naima wrapped her arms around herself. You terrify me, you infuriate me, you're everything I should run from. Korean, not Nigerian, old, not young, criminal, not good. But you also protected me, taught me, made me stronger. I don't understand what I feel, but I can't deny it exists. Naima, her name was a prayer on his lips. Do you know what you're saying? That I'm staying here in Korea. That I'll be your wife in truth, not just on paper. She met his eyes. But I need time. I need you to be patient while I figure this out. I've been alive for 68 years. Jinho crossed to her, cupping her face with heartbreaking gentleness. I can wait a little longer for something worth having, for someone worth having. He kissed her forehead, just her forehead, then he stepped back, giving her space. Thank you, Naima whispered. Don't thank me yet. War is coming, little bride. Things are about to get very dangerous. I need to know you can handle it. I can, she lifted her chin. Soyeon is teaching me well. I won't be a liability. You could never be a liability. Jinho's smile was fierce. You're an asset, my greatest asset, and I protect my assets with everything I have. The next 2 weeks were intense. Training doubled. Soyeon taught her knife work, close combat, tactical awareness, and more Korean language. Naima threw herself into it, using the physical exhaustion to avoid thinking about her growing feelings for Jinho and her complicated emotions about being so far from Nigeria. But avoiding didn't make them disappear. Every morning he brought her coffee prepared the way she liked it. Every evening they ate dinner together, sometimes Korean food, sometimes dishes from her homeland that his chef learned to prepare. He told her stories about his life in Korea, carefully editing out the worst violence. She told him about Nigeria, her dreams, her fears, her homesickness. They were building something: connection, understanding, maybe even trust. It terrified her how much she looked forward to those moments. The attack came on a Thursday. Naima was leaving the penthouse with Soyeon for a doctor's appointment at a Korean hospital. Routine, normal, until the elevator doors opened on the parking garage and 3 armed men were waiting, Korean men with hard faces. Soyeon moved instantly, shoving Naima behind her. Run, but there was nowhere to run. The elevator doors closed, trapping them. The men advanced with guns drawn, speaking rapid Korean. Naima's training kicked in. She dropped low as Soyeon engaged the first attacker, delivering a brutal strike to his throat. The man went down gasping. The second man aimed at Soyeon's back, shouting something in Korean. Naima didn't think. She launched herself at him, remembering everything she'd learned. Strike the wrist, disarm, follow through. The gun clattered away. The man swung at her, cursing in Korean, and she blocked, countering with a knee to his stomach. He doubled over, and she brought her elbow down on the back of his neck. He collapsed. The third man had a knife. He slashed at Soyeon, opening a cut on her arm. Blood bloomed. Soyeon hissed but didn't slow, responding in rapid Korean. She kicked his knee and he stumbled. Naima grabbed his knife arm, twisting hard like Soyeon had taught her. The blade fell. Soyeon finished him with a punch that left him unconscious. Silence. 3 Korean men down, a Nigerian girl and a North Korean defector standing. "You okay?" Soyeon asked in English, breathing hard. "I think so." Naima's hands shook as adrenaline crashed through her. "Your arm, flesh wound. I've had worse in North Korea." Soyeon pulled out her phone, speaking rapid Korean. "We need to call Jinho." This was a coordinated hit. Within minutes, the parking garage filled with armed Korean men. Jinho arrived like a storm, his face carved from ice. He took in the scene: the unconscious attackers, Soyeon's bleeding arm, Naima's disheveled appearance. Then he pulled Naima into his arms, holding her so tightly she could barely breathe, speaking Korean that she was starting to understand meant something like, "Thank the ancestors, you're safe." "Are you hurt?" His voice shook when he switched to English, actually shook. "No, Soyeon protected me, I helped." Naima buried her face in his chest, letting herself take comfort in his strength. "They came out of nowhere, spoke Korean. I didn't understand, but I fought anyway, Tanaka's men." Jinho's hand cupped the back of her head. "This ends tonight." He released her only to bark orders in Korean. Men scattered. One helped Soyeon while another zip tied the attackers. Jinho kept Naima close, his hand never leaving her. "Take her upstairs," he told Soyeon in English. "Lock down the penthouse. No one in or out except my inner circle." "Where are you going?" Naima demanded, "to end this." Jinho's eyes were cold, empty. "Tanaka crossed the line. He tried to hurt you on Korean soil. That's a death sentence." "Don't go, please." She grabbed his jacket. "Let someone else handle it." "This is personal now." He gripped her wrists gently. "He threatened what's mine. I handle that personally. You could die. I've been dying since the day I was born." Jinho kissed her forehead. "This is what I am, Naima, what I've always been, a weapon, a killer. If that changes how you see me, I understand, but I won't let anyone hurt you and live." He left before she could argue. The hours that followed were torture. Naima paced the penthouse while Soyeon got stitches from a doctor who asked no questions. The sun set over Seoul, rose again. No word from Jinho, just silence and fear, and her imagination running wild with all the ways he could die. She'd been married to him for 2 weeks, barely knew him, was from a completely different world. Shouldn't care this much, but she did. God help her, she did. Dawn broke over Seoul's skyline. The door opened. Jinho entered, and Naima nearly collapsed with relief. He was alive, covered in blood that she prayed wasn't his, exhausted but alive. Their eyes met across the room, Korean and Nigerian, old and young, and something passed between them, something profound. "It's done," he said quietly in English. "Tanaka won't trouble us again." "You killed him?" "Yes." No apology, no justification, just fact. Naima should have been horrified, should have run screaming back to Nigeria. Instead, she crossed to him, took his blood-stained hand, and led him to the bathroom. She started the shower, then began unbuttoning his ruined shirt. "What are you doing?" Jinho asked hoarsely. Taking care of you. Her hands were steady now, her Nigerian accent soft. You protected me. Now I protect you. She stripped him down to his underwear, averting her eyes from his muscular body, then guided him into the shower and followed, still fully dressed. The hot water turned pink as it washed away the blood. She grabbed soap and began cleaning him, her touch clinical but gentle. Jinho stood motionless, watching her face. You should be afraid of me. I know. Naima washed his chest, careful around the scars she could see. But I'm not. You're dangerous, violent, a killer, Korean, and everything different from me. But you're also mine. My husband, my protector. I can't reconcile those two things, but I'm learning to accept them both. Naima. Her name was broken on his lips. Don't. She pressed her fingers to his mouth. Don't say anything, just let me do this. She washed him thoroughly, then shut off the water. She helped him dry off, found him clean clothes, led him to bed. He lay down like a man in a trance, and she curled up beside him, still in her wet clothes. Jinho pulled her clothes, his face buried in her hair. I don't deserve you, probably not. Naima's hand rested over his heart, feeling it beat, strong, steady, alive. But you're stuck with me anyway. This Nigerian girl isn't going anywhere. They fell asleep like that, tangled together. Two broken people from different worlds finding unexpected comfort in the wrong circumstances. When Naima woke, it was late afternoon. Jinho was gone, but a note remained in English, business in Inchin, back tomorrow. Soyeon is downstairs, don't leave the penthouse, missing you already. She should have been angry at the continued restrictions. Instead, she found herself missing him too, missing his presence, his voice, the way he looked at her like she was precious beyond measure. Like her being from Nigeria made her more special, not less. The revelation hit her like a truck. She was falling for him, 19-year-old Nigerian girl, 68-year-old Korean crime lord. Wrong in every possible way, but undeniably real. Naima spent the day in turmoil. She trained with Soyeon, practiced Korean phrases, ate without tasting, tried to read but couldn't focus. Her mind kept circling back to Jinho, the gentleness in his touch, the fire in his eyes, the way he'd held her after the attack, like she was the most important thing in his world, like her dark skin and foreign background made her more valuable, not less. When had fear turned to fascination? When had anger turned to anticipation? She couldn't pinpoint the moment. It had been gradual, 1,000 small interactions building into something bigger, something terrifying. Night fell over Seoul. Naima couldn't sleep. She wandered the penthouse, ending up in Jinho's study. She'd never been in there before. It was masculine, dark wood and leather, shelves lined with books in Korean, Japanese, English. A desk covered in papers with Korean characters she was learning to read. But what caught her eye was the photo on the desk, her. A candid shot taken during one of her training sessions. She was laughing at something Soyeon had said, her dark skin glowing, her face lit with genuine joy. When had he taken this and why did he keep it on his desk? Because you're beautiful when you laugh. Naima spun. Jinho stood in the doorway. He was supposed to be in Inchin, but here he was, watching her with those intense gray eyes. You're back early, she managed in English. I couldn't stay away. He entered the study, moving like a predator. I kept thinking about you, worrying about you. I cut the meetings short and came home to Seoul, came home to you. This isn't home. Nigeria is home, wherever you are is home now. Jinho stopped in front of her. I've lived 68 years, Naima. I've seen and done things that would make you sick. I've killed, stolen, lied. I'm not a good man by any measure, but when I'm with you, when I see you adapting to Korea while keeping your Nigerian strength, I want to be better. You make me want to be better. Jinho. His name felt natural on her lips now, even with her accent. I know I'm too old for you. I know I'm Korean and you're Nigerian. I know this situation is twisted, but I can't change how I feel. His hand cupped her face, pale against dark. You've become essential, like breathing, like my heartbeat. I don't know when it happened, but it did. I'm 19, she whispered. You're 68. I'm from Nigeria, you're from Korea. People will say it's disgusting. Let them. I've never cared what people think. His thumb brushed her cheek. The only opinion that matters is yours, so tell me, little bride, what do you think? What does this Nigerian girl feel about this old Korean man? Naima closed her eyes. Honesty. He'd always been honest with her, even when the truth was ugly. She owed him the same. I think I'm terrified. I think this is wrong in so many ways. I think my family in Lagos would be horrified. I think I should run back to Nigeria as far as I can. She opened her eyes, meeting his gaze. But I also think about you constantly. I miss you when you're gone. I crave your touch, your approval, your presence. I'm falling for you and I don't know how to stop. Korean or Nigerian, it doesn't seem to matter to my heart. Don't stop. Jinho's voice was raw. Please, Naima, don't stop. This is insane. I know, we're going to hurt each other. Probably, I might hate you tomorrow. I'll risk it. His forehead pressed against hers. Because tonight, right now, you're here, you're mine. This Nigerian queen is mine, and that's enough. Naima made her choice. She rose on her toes and kissed him. It was nothing like she'd imagined, gentle, tender. His lips moved against hers with surprising softness, no force, no demand, just a question asked and answered. His hands cradled her face like she was made of glass. She melted into him, her hands gripping his shirt, and the kiss deepened. Heat exploded between them. Jinho groaned, pulling her closer. Naima gasped as his tongue traced her lower lip, seeking entrance. She opened for him, and the kiss turned desperate, hungry. 68 years of Korean experience met 19 years of Nigerian innocence, and somehow it worked. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. Bedroom, Jinho said roughly in English. Now, before I take you on this desk, something wild and reckless rose in Naima. Maybe I want the desk. His eyes went black. You don't know what you're saying. Don't I? She backed toward the desk, pulling him with her. You said you wanted me willing. I'm willing, Jinho. This Nigerian girl is willing. Show me what happens next. Are you sure? Because once we cross this line, there's no going back. I've never been more sure of anything. That was all he needed. What followed was hours of careful exploration, of whispered reassurances and building pleasure. Jinho took his time preparing her, his touch reverent and patient, making sure she was ready in every way. When they finally came together, there was pain, but he held her through it, whispering endearments in Korean and English that she was starting to understand. The pain faded, replaced by something overwhelming. Connection, completion, rightness that defied logic and geography and age and race. Afterward, he carried her to the bedroom, laying her gently on the sheets. He cleaned her carefully, then pulled her into his arms. Are you okay? He asked in English. I think so. Naima traced the scars on his chest. That was not what I expected. Good unexpected or bad unexpected? Definitely good. She looked up at him. All those rumors about old men, they were wrong, very wrong. Jinho's laugh was surprised and genuine. I could have told you that. You did. I just didn't believe it. Naima kissed his jaw. I believe it now. They lay in comfortable silence. Naima's mind drifted. They'd crossed a line tonight, made this marriage real in ways that terrified and thrilled her. Nigeria and Korea had met in this bed, but questions remained, big questions. What happens now? She asked. Now you sleep. Tomorrow we figure out the rest. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. Jinho's hand stroked her hair. I can't promise you easy, Naima. My life is violence and danger in Korea's underworld, but I can promise I'll protect you. I'll care for you. I'll be faithful to you. I'll honor your Nigerian heritage, and I'll do everything in my power to make you happy. What if happy isn't possible in your world? What about my family in Nigeria? Then we'll create our own world, just us, away from the blood and the business. His eyes were serious. I've been thinking about retiring, passing the organization to my second in command. Maybe we could split time between Korea and Nigeria, let you see your family, start fresh in both places. The offer stunned her. You'd give up everything, you'd go to Nigeria for me? Yes. Jinho kissed her forehead. You're my second chance, Naima, my opportunity to be something other than a weapon. If you'll let me, I want to spend however many years I have left making you smile, in Seoul, in Lagos, wherever you need to be. 2 months later, Naima woke feeling ill. Nausea rolled through her stomach. She barely made it to the bathroom before losing everything. When she emerged shaky and pale, Jinho was there with concern etched on his face. How long has this been happening? He asked in English. 4 days. Naima accepted the water he offered. I thought it was Korean food not agreeing with me, or something else. Jinho's eyes were knowing. When was your last cycle? Naima froze. She'd been so busy adapting to life in Korea, she hadn't even noticed. 7 weeks, maybe 8. Oh God, I need a test, she whispered. Soyeon procured one within the hour. Naima took it with shaking hands. Jinho waited outside the bathroom, giving her privacy. The 3 minutes felt like 3 hours. When the timer went off, she looked positive. Her knees gave out. She sat hard on the tile floor, staring at the test. Pregnant. She was 19 and pregnant by a 68-year-old Korean crime lord, a Nigerian girl carrying a half-Korean baby. This wasn't supposed to happen. The doctors had said his age made it unlikely, nearly impossible. But here it was, proof. Naima, Jinho knocked gently. "Can I come in?" She couldn't speak. He entered anyway, taking one look at her face and the test before kneeling beside her. "A baby," he said wonderingly in English. "Are you angry?" Naima managed. "Angry? No." Shocked, terrified, but not angry. He pulled her into his arms. "This is a gift, Naima, an unexpected miracle. A child of two worlds, Nigeria and Korea. I'm 19, you're 68. I'm Nigerian, you're Korean. We're bringing a child into a world of violence. This is insane. It's also beautiful." Jinho's hand settled on her still flat stomach. "A piece of us, a future, something good coming from all this darkness. Your strength and my protection, Nigeria and Korea united." Over the next months, Jinho kept his word. He began transferring power to his second in command. He moved them out of Seoul to a house on the coast, quiet, secluded, safe, between Korea and easy access to flights to Nigeria. He stayed close as Naima's belly grew, attending every doctor's appointment, reading pregnancy books in both English and Korean, preparing a nursery with touching enthusiasm that blended both cultures. He even arranged for her mother and brothers to visit from Nigeria. The reunion was tearful and joyful, and Jinho welcomed them with grace and gifts. The baby came on a spring morning. Labor was long and brutal. Jinho never left her side, holding her hand, wiping her face, whispering encouragement in Korean and English. When the doctor finally placed their daughter in Naima's arms, everything else disappeared. She was perfect, dark skin like Naima, gray eyes like Jinho, a beautiful blend of Nigeria and Korea, a miracle in tiny human form. "What should we name her?" Naima asked. "Hope," Jinho said immediately. "Because she's our hope, our second chance, our proof that beauty can come from darkness, that Nigeria and Korea can create something perfect." Hope. Naima tested the name. "Hope Park, I love it." Jinho kissed her forehead, then their daughters. "I love you both more than I thought possible. You saved me, Naima, you and Hope. You gave me a reason to be better. You brought Nigeria into my Korean heart." "We saved each other," Naima corrected, looking at her daughter, at her husband's weathered face filled with wonder. Naima marveled at the journey from terrified Nigerian bride in Seoul to willing wife to mother, from Lagos to Korea, from hatred to love. The tabloids would call their story scandalous. The age gap alone guaranteed that the cultural difference would fuel gossip, but they didn't matter. Only this mattered. This moment, this family, this love built from impossible circumstances, spanning continents and cultures. Naima had been sold to settle a debt in a foreign country. She'd cried on her wedding night in Seoul, convinced her life was over, but she'd been wrong. Her life was just beginning. The end. Thank you so much for writing this emotional journey with us, family. If you loved this story, smash that like button, subscribe to Afro-K Dark Diaries TV, and drop a comment telling us what you thought. Which moment made you cry? Which made you believe in impossible love? Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss our next incredible love story. We've got more amazing tales of love transcending age, culture, and circumstance coming your way. Share this with someone who believes love knows no boundaries. Until next time, keep believing that the right person will see your worth regardless of age or origin. Keep fighting for authentic connection, and remember that sometimes the most beautiful love stories begin in the darkest places. Peace and blessings, family.